He thought she was just being friendly. The way she laughed a little longer than everyone else at his jokes. The way she always seemed to find a reason to be standing near him. The way she asked him questions that had nothing to do with the conversation they were already having. His friends saw it immediately. He saw nothing. 3 months later, she stopped waiting for him to notice and moved on completely. And he spent the rest of that year replaying every single moment, wondering how he missed something that was apparently obvious to everyone except him. If that story just knocked on something familiar inside you, stay right where you are. Because what we are getting into today is going to make sure you never sit in that confusion again. Research published by behavioral scientists confirms that humans correctly identify signals of romantic interest only about 28% of the time. That means for every sign she gives you, you are missing 2 or 3 others without even realizing it. The problem is not that she is not showing you. The problem is that most men are waiting for something loud and obvious, when attraction almost never announces itself that way. It moves quietly, in patterns, in repeated small moments that individually seem easy to explain away, but together are telling you something unmistakably clear. Today we are breaking down the 7 most powerful things a woman does when she is already interested in you, backed by psychology, body language research, and the behavioral science of attraction. Now let us get into it. The first thing she does is find reasons to be physically close to you without making it obvious. She does not sit across the room when there is an open seat beside you. She does not maintain a polite, comfortable distance when you are standing together. She closes the gap quietly, naturally, in ways that feel incidental but are anything. Body language researchers who have studied proximity and attraction consistently identify physical closeness as one of the earliest and most reliable indicators of genuine romantic interest. A 2021 research paper on attraction confirmed that people are drawn toward potential partners through multiple sensory channels, including physical proximity, and that women in particular use subtle spatial behavior to signal interest before words are ever exchanged. When she keeps ending up in your orbit, that is not coincidence. That is intention wearing the costume of accident. Meet James. He had been working alongside a woman in his office for about 2 months when a colleague pointed something out to him over lunch. She always finds a reason to be near you, his friend said. James laughed it off. But that afternoon he started paying attention. She picked the seat next to him in a meeting, where half the room was empty. She appeared at the coffee machine within 3 minutes of him walking over. She stood close enough during a hallway conversation that he could smell her perfume even though the corridor was wide, and there was more than enough space for both of them. None of it felt dramatic. All of it was deliberate. And the moment he understood what he had been looking at, everything shifted between them. The second thing she does is make and hold eye contact in a way that feels different from everyone else. Not the polite glance of a person being socially appropriate. Not the distracted look of someone half present in a conversation. But a specific kind of sustained attention that lingers just a beat longer than it needs to and carries something in it that is difficult to name, but impossible to miss once you have felt it. Attraction researchers describe a behavior called the short darting glance. A quick sideways look that lasts less than 3 seconds, and typically occurs in clusters of 3 where she looks at you, looks away, and then looks back. That pattern is one of the most documented nonverbal signals of female interest in the behavioral science literature. And when the glances stop being short and start holding longer, the signal has moved from curiosity into something considerably more intentional. The third thing she does is ask you questions that go deeper than the surface. Not what do you do for work or how was your weekend in the obligatory way of someone making conversation to fill silence, but the kind of questions that show she has been thinking about you in between the moments you have been together. She wants to know what shaped you. She wants to know what you actually believe in. She wants to understand what sits underneath the version of you that you show the rest of the world. Research from social psychology published in leading behavioral journals confirms that people signal romantic interest through conversational deepening, asking open-ended personal questions, sharing their own vulnerabilities in return, and steering conversations toward meaning rather than information. When she keeps trying to know more of you, it is because she is trying to decide if the more of you is as good as the parts she has already seen. The fourth thing she does is remember things you said. Not the headline things that anyone would remember. The small things, the offhand comment you made 3 weeks ago about something that mattered to you as a kid. The name of your friend you mentioned once in a story. The thing you said you wanted to do someday that you barely remembered saying. When a woman brings back a detail that fell quietly from a conversation and never felt important enough to remember, she is giving you one of the clearest possible signals that you occupy more of her mental space than you probably realize. Psychology research on attention and romantic interest consistently shows that selective memory, the tendency to retain specific personal information about someone, is a direct reflection of emotional investment. She is not just listening to you. She is keeping you. The fifth thing she does is change her energy when you walk into a room. Not dramatically. Not in a way that she would want you to notice directly, but something shifts. She becomes slightly more animated. Her posture opens up. She laughs a little more freely. She becomes aware of herself in a way that she was not a moment before you arrived. Behavioral scientists describe this as preening behavior, the subconscious physical and emotional adjustment people make in the presence of someone they are attracted to. Research on nonverbal attraction signals confirms that women engage in preening instinctively, adjusting their appearance, their posture, and their overall presentation in the proximity of a man they find genuinely compelling. She is not performing for the room. She is performing, without even knowing it, for you specifically. The sixth thing she does is initiate contact in small ways that give her an exit if she needs one. A text about something that reminded her of you, a comment on something you posted, a casual suggestion about a place she thinks you might like that happens to be somewhere she would also be. These small initiations are not random. They are deliberate low-risk moves that keep the connection warm, without putting her in a position of vulnerability she is not ready for. Research on attachment and romantic pursuit shows that women rarely initiate in ways that leave them fully exposed before they have a reasonable sense that the interest is mutual. Every small reach is a test. She is not just making conversation. She is watching how you respond to find out whether it is safe to keep reaching. The seventh thing she does is mirror you. Your pace, your energy, your gestures, your expressions, sometimes even the specific words and phrases you use. She does not plan it. She does not notice she is doing it. But mirroring is one of the most well-documented and consistent behavioral indicators of emotional alignment and attraction in the psychology literature. Studies on the chameleon effect confirm that people unconsciously mirror those they feel connected to and genuinely interested in, and that the degree of mirroring increases in proportion to the depth of the attraction. When you slow down, she slows down. When your voice drops, hers does too. When you lean in, something in her leans toward you before her mind has even registered the decision. That is not coincidence. That is her nervous system, telling you something her words have not yet found the courage to say. Here is what ties all 7 of these things together. Not one of them alone is enough to be certain. But research on attraction signals is consistent on this point. When you see 3 or more of these behaviors appearing together in a pattern over time, you are not imagining it. You are not projecting. She is interested. And the cost of missing that, the cost of waiting for something louder, something more obvious, something impossible to misread, is often the exact thing that James discovered, that she stops waiting before you start seeing. Pay attention to the patterns. They have been there longer than you think. If this opened your eyes to something you have been sitting right next to without realizing it, drop a comment below and tell me which sign you recognize the most. Hit that like button if this gave you clarity. Subscribe, because we cover the real conversations here. No overthinking, no confusion. Just the honest insight that helps you actually understand what is happening around you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it right now. And remember, the signals have always been there. Now you know how to read them. See you in the next one.